5 years later, and I'm still getting ambushed. Not every day, not every week, but something happens. And maybe you felt this too. You see a photo on social media, you get copied on a legal email, you find out your kids chose to spend the holiday with him. You drive past a milestone that triggers memories, and suddenly you're right back there, questioning everything, feeling the weight of all those years. And you think, why am I still feeling this? I used to think something was wrong with me. I don't think that anymore. There's something nobody tells you about grief after divorce. My friend, it does not follow a timeline. You can be 5 years out. You can have rebuilt your life. You can have done the work, gotten the help, created something new, and still a photo shows up in your feed, a legal issue lands in your inbox. You find out your adult kids are going on vacation with him and his girlfriend. Your youngest decides to spend his last year before going to college with his dad. You hear the house you built together is being sold, and just like that, grief is back. Heavy, confusing, almost embarrassing, because you thought you were done with this. If you've ever asked yourself, why am I still grieving? This video is for you, because I've been asking that same question too for 5 years, and I finally understand why. I want to be honest with you today. 5 years ago, my marriage of 36 years ended. And in those years, I've rebuilt, I've created a coaching practice, I've written a book, I've built a community of women I love. I've done the work. And still, there are moments that catch me completely off guard. My youngest sends me this Snapchat on my phone with his big smiling face just looking at me. And what's in the background? Yep, his dad and his girlfriend sitting on the couch in the house that I built. Boom. Just like that, I'm right back in it. And in that moment, a very specific kind of grief comes back. Not just sadness, something heavier. I start questioning the meaning of those 36 years. I start wondering what any of it added up to. I feel the weight of everything, not just the marriage ending, but the version of my life I thought I was living, the family I thought I was building, the future I felt that was so certain, and then it wasn't. And underneath all of it, there's this pull, this exhausting, familiar pull towards a place I don't want to go. Why me? What was the point? How did I end up here? I know that place. I recognize it the moment I arrive, and my friend, I do not want to live there. But I need you to understand something important. The reason the grief keeps coming back is not because you haven't healed enough. It's not because you're weak or stuck or doing something wrong. It's because of something called ambiguous loss. And once you understand it, everything starts to make sense. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why this grief returns, even years later. And you're going to understand why divorce grief is fundamentally different from any other kind of grief, and why that matters more than anyone has told you. I'm going to give you 3 things that actually help when the ambush hits. Not toxic positivity, not a reminder to count your blessings. 3 honest things I use myself, still 5 years in, when the weight comes back. 1, divorce grief keeps returning because it never had a true ending. The concept in psychology called ambiguous loss is real. It describes grief without closure, without a clear ending point. When someone dies, there's a moment of recognition, a before and an after. The world pauses and says, you are allowed to grieve now. Divorce doesn't give you that. Because the loss was not a single moment, it's ongoing. Before I learned the term ambiguous loss, I called it dead man walking. It's the social media post that shows up in your feed without warning. The email that lands on an ordinary Tuesday. It's the finding out your adult children spent spring break in the house you used to live in. It's hearing that the home you built together, the one you thought you would grow old in, is being sold. So now he can build a new house with someone new. It's trying to get one simple question answered and having to go through lawyers because direct communication no longer exists. It's watching your youngest choose to live there because home still means that house, that address, that kitchen. It's the girlfriend who's 10 years younger. The holidays, the vacations, the family photos where you're simply not in them. Each one of these is not a new loss. Each one of them is the same loss arriving in a new form. And because the loss keeps arriving, the grief keeps returning. You're not still grieving because something's wrong with you. You are grieving because the ending never truly ended. But here's what most women don't realize about what happens inside of them when those moments hit. 2, victim mentality is not who you are. It's a pattern that you can learn to interrupt. So I want to say something that most coaches don't say out loud. 5 years after my divorce, I still get pulled into victim mentality. When the triggers hit, and they do, in all the ways I just described, there's a very familiar voice that starts up. What was the point of all the years I poured into my life if I end up here? Why does he get to move forward so easily while I'm still dealing with the aftermath? How did 36 years end up with zero communication? And why am I the one sitting alone while everyone else seems to be living the life that was supposed to be mine? I know that voice. I recognize it the moment it starts. And I've learned something important about it. Victim mentality is not a character flaw, it's a pattern. And the patterns get triggered by circumstances we cannot control. I can't control where my children choose to spend their time. I can't control what shows up on social media. I can't control what he doesn't communicate with me. I can't control the house being sold or the fact she's 10 years younger. I can't control any of that. What I can control is what I do in the moment after the trigger hits. And the moment I recognize the pattern, the moment I hear that voice starting up, I have a choice. It's not an easy choice. It's not an instant one, but my friend, it's still a choice. I don't want my heart to become heavy and hard. I want to be light, present, and grateful for the life I'm actually living. That decision that I don't want to live there is not denial. It's a commitment to myself. And there's one specific practice that makes that commitment easier to actually keep. 3, you can't stop the triggers. Here's what I've learned after 5 years of getting ambushed by this grief. You can't stop the triggers from coming. You can't control what shows up in your feed, the emails, the kids, what life looks like on his side, but here's what you can control. What happens the very moment after that trigger hits? Because that moment, that split second when that familiar voice starts up in your head and the weight comes back, is actually where your power is. For me, it looks like this. The moment I hear that voice asking, what's the point, why, this and that whiny victim, feeling sorry for myself. We all know what that victim voice sounds like in our head. I literally stop. I have learned just to stop walking, stop moving, stop in my head and say out loud, this is not serving me. This is not serving me. That's it. Nothing complicated. Nothing that requires more strength than I have in the moment. Just those 5 words. This is not serving me. Out loud, to me. It breaks the cycle. That spiral, when you say it out loud, it's like an elastic band snapping you in the wrist and pulling you back to the present moment. And that's where your power is. And then I make one small deliberate move back towards my actual life. Not the past one, not the lost one that I was in this conversation in my head with. My actual life. The one that exists right now. Sometimes that's texting one of my friends who gets it. Sometimes that's getting back to work on something I'm building. Other times it's just stepping outside and finding 3 things right in front of me that are actually mine today and saying them out loud. Nothing profound, nothing heroic, just one small move back toward today. Because here's what 5 years has taught me. You don't have to wait until the grief is gone to choose your present life. You just have to be willing to take that one step towards it. Even when the weight's still there, even when the grief has not yet lifted. One step. And every time you take it, you get a little better at finding your way back. You would think after 5 years, this would not still be necessary. But my friend, it is. And honestly, that's okay. Grace and space. This is not your destination that you arrive at. It's just something you practice every day, some days more than others. This is actually part of why I wrote my book, Navigating the In-Between, because the in-between is not just the first year after divorce. For many of us, it's still happening years later, and that deserves to be said out loud. If you're in the many years out and still getting ambushed, you're not behind. Maybe you're just 1 year out and you're wondering, why is this not getting any easier? You're not behind. The grief keeps coming back because the loss was real. 36 years was real. The family you built was real. The future you planned was real. You are allowed to still feel the weight of that, but you don't have to live there. You can feel it, name it, recognize the pattern, and then choose, even if just for today, to come back to your present life. The one you're building, the one that's actually yours, the one that doesn't require you to keep carrying what you couldn't hold on to. You're not still broken, you're still becoming. If this resonated, if you've ever been ambushed by grief that you thought you were finished with, I'd love for you to subscribe. I share new videos every week for women navigating this exact season. And if you're willing, tell me in the comments, how far out are you and what still catches you off guard?